One of the areas that I get asked most about today is government reform. Reform is an area or an issue that, reform is probably the wrong word, but it's government change. And governments do change. We saw some major changes through legislative initiatives in the last year in the healthcare area and in the financial services area. We may see those change yet again in those areas. But the area of most change that's likely to occur that people generally are not as familiar with as they should be is regulatory change. The rulemaking powers of our federal agencies on interpreting statutes that in many instances are quite broad and sometimes even vague in their breadth give enormous power to regulatory and non-regulatory agencies, whether it's the Department of Labor, whether it's the Environmental Protection Agency, whether it's the Department of Energy, whether it's the Department of Agriculture. And we are seeing more and more of the decisions being made not in the legislature, but in the executive branch agencies. And if people don't understand the opportunities and the dangers to their own circumstances that flow from ongoing regulatory change, they're going to be blindsided sooner or later. And more often than not, it's not going to be to their benefit, but to their detriment. One has to be aware of what's going on, who's doing it, what the forces are behind it. And all too often, the agency's mandate is so broad that it's hard to say that actions that are being contemplated are ultra vires or in excess of the authority that they have in an area. And when that occurs, one has to be very, very attentive to know what's going on and who's making these decisions. I venture to say many of the people who are listening to this video today have never heard of OIRA. It's the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs. It's a component of the Office of Management and Budget, which is part of the Executive Office of the President. It oversees all of the rulemaking activities of all of the federal agencies and departments in the United States. And it coordinates those regulatory proceedings before the final regulations are issued, indeed before the proposed regulations are issued. And if you've never heard of OIRA and have no idea of the role that it plays, you are at the mercy of others who do. And so as we see more and more issues being unable to be resolved in the legislative arena, it is natural for people to try to resolve them in the regulatory arena, where authority purportedly or actually already exists.